This week we're going to be discussing on sparks and seconds the midah of Emes. Emes, Chazal say, is Choysomei Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the signature of Hashem. Amazing. Truth is the signature of the Rabbi Shalom. Let's understand it for a moment. Emes is spelled Aleph, Mem, Saf. Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet, of the Hebrew alphabet. Saf is the last one, and Mem is the center. Which means the Choysomei, the seal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, encompasses the entire Aleph base, which means it encompasses the entire Torah. The midah of truth is something that stands. Sheker, falsehood, the Mishnah Nova says, Ein la raglayim. It has no feet. Emes grows from the ground, says the Medrash and Bereshis. Hashem threw Emes down to the ground, and Emes merit titzmach. Emes will grow from the ground. So it's really important that we have to understand that every person in his relationship with anyone, especially with himself, he has to be truthful. If you're truthful with yourself, if you're truthful with others, that's the thing that's going to help a person grow to become a better person. In his relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, and in his relationship with people, whether it's business, whether it's husband and wife, whether it's with friends, and of course, with yourself as well. We end off Kriyat Shema, which is Kabbalah Salmach Shemaim. We say twice a day, in the morning and at night. We say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am Hashem, Asher Etzesi Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim, Liyos Lachem Lelekim. I took you out of Mitzrayim. I made you into a nation. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Emes. We end off with the word of Emes, because that brings us into the Geula. That brings us into V'yatzav. Brings us into where, even at night, when it's dark and difficult, the truth is going to hold us. The truth is going to be that thing that is the key to our salvation. Finally, let me just end that we say that Yaakov Avinu was the midah of Emes. Yaakov Avinu was the midah of truth. Ein Emes ela Torah. Truthful, bring you to the light of Torah. Have an amazing day. Have a truthful day. Have a day of connection to Hashem. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
Talking about Emes, we typically would associate the midah of Emes with saying words that are true. Of course, that's correct. I think it's a lot more than that. Much more than just saying words that are true. There's a lot of Emes that has to do with being a truthful person. The person as a whole. The whole mensch is a truthful person. I want to speak about one aspect of that, being a truthful person. You know, it's hard for us to admit our mistakes. It's hard for us to admit that we're wrong. That's very natural. But the fact is that healthy relationships are built on trust, on the confidence that both parties involved feel that the other one is sincerely committed. It takes two authentic people to have an authentic relationship. And the truthfulness in the two parties involved goes way beyond the words they say, the words being true. Do they say words which are correct, which are accurate? A person has to be authentic, he has to be honest, self-honest. A person has to be able to admit he was wrong. A person has to be through and through a truthful person. This is just one example at admitting mistakes in terms of building relationships, but really in many areas. The idea that we don't just say things that are true, but the whole mensch stands for truth. And I think that we could all see ourselves grow in this area, become more self-aware, self-honest, and able to be more genuine, truthful people.
I often have the following conversation with Talmidim. He'll say, I'm sorry, Rabbi, I couldn't make it to Shir. I couldn't. And I'll say, well, you could. You just didn't want to. And he'll say, well, of course I want to. I want to come to shir. I couldn't do it. I'll say, okay, well, you didn't prioritize it. What do you mean? Of course I did. It's like high priority. It's on the top of my priority list. So why didn't you come? I couldn't get up. Well, why couldn't you get up? Because I went to sleep late. Oh, so you prioritize going to sleep late over shir. It's like, no. At that point, the conversation will stop, and he'll kind of, say, like, come on, Rabbi, no, I really want to come. I want to come. And I just want to explain what I want from that conversation. Besides just to drive him crazy, I really want to bring something out of the Talmud in these conversations. And it says as follows. A person, let's say, is learning in yeshiva. He's learning a Maimer Chazal. Let's say, called the Avid Rahman al-Atav Avid. Everything Hashem does is for the best. Okay? And he enjoys that Maimer Chazal. He thinks about it. He connects with it. And then he's driving that afternoon. He has a doctor's appointment and he's running late. And he hits a red light. And he's angry. Now, a few things are going on there. He's thinking in his mind, I just learned Kol David Rahman al-Atav Avid in the Beis Midrash. Just this morning. And he knows that deep down in his neshama, the neshama is tahor. Neshama shenasat to be tahorahi. So the neshama for sure feels Kol David Rahman al-Atav Avid. So what he does is he takes that Maimer Chazal and he tries to shove it into his head, telling himself over and over, over and over again. He shoves it into his mind. And that's the way he works on himself. There's a problem, because I believe he is skipping a step. And the step is as follows. That person has a voice inside of him. The voice is saying, I'm very angry right now. I'm angry about this red light. And we all have these voices. This voice manifests itself in our knee-jerk reaction to any given situation. If a person walks into the room, I have a knee-jerk reaction how I feel about that person. I like him or I don't like him. If I open a sefer, I have a knee-jerk reaction of how I feel about that sefer. If I eat a food, or if I look at a food, I have a knee-jerk reaction. What's my association to that food? With everything in life, I have that knee-jerk reaction. And that original feeling, that's where I am. Often what happens is we take that feeling, we take that voice, and we quiet it down. We brush it under the rug. There's a problem with that. The problem is that voice is going to come back later to haunt us. And next time it's going to be louder, and it's going to be a lot less polite. And if we let it sit for too long, it could get very, very ugly. And people could burn out completely because they did not pay attention to that voice. The reason why we don't could be one of many reasons. Number one, often we're shut down as children when we express this voice. When we're children, we express it often. But then we're shut down. If we say something like, I don't like learning, I don't like Shabbos, our parents or our Rabbi will get very nervous. And what do you know? You don't like Torah? Of course you like Torah. It makes everyone happy. So what you just taught that kid, do not express my feelings. My feelings are worthless. That voice inside me is worthless. Now, is it true? Of course it's true. But is it true that that voice is worthless? Absolutely not. And that voice has to be listened to. Sometimes a person's embarrassed by the voice. I'm 40 years old and I'm still getting upset when I'm sitting at a red light. Come on, I'm 40 years old. Get over it. And in reality, the reason why he still gets upset is because he never really worked on it. He always brushed it under the rug. I'm a big believer in a person speaking out that voice, voicing that voice, sitting at that red light and saying, Hashem, I'm really, really upset right now that I'm sitting at this red light. I'm fuming, in fact. I want to be at this appointment, and you are making me sit at this red light. It's embarrassing and it's hurtful. But through that, a person can really build. Oh, why? Why do I feel upset? Why am I so upset that I'm sitting at this red light? Don't I believe called the Avid Rahman al-Atav Avid? What's going on here? And then I could dissect it and really understand where I'm holding, what's that point of contention between what I'm feeling, that voice, and the statement of Chazal. That's the only way to do it. To speak out that voice and to build from where you are up, not from the Maimer Chazal to shove it into yourself, but rather from where you are, building from there towards that Maimer Chazal. I would love it if that Talmud would say, I really do not prioritize learning. I'd rather stay up at night. Then we could start working on it. Okay, why not? What don't you like about davening? What don't you like about learning? If he thinks, no, I love it, I want to be there, I just can't, then there's nothing to talk about. He's an ones. I'm really on the highest of levels, but I'm an ones, I can't do it. There's nothing to talk about. There's nowhere to grow. The building of ruchnis that we're trying to build for ourselves The building of Shleimus has to be built on a foundation of Emes, on a foundation of being honest with ourselves, being honest about where we are really holding in our personal lives.
Midas Emes. There's a terrible, terrible misconception about the Midah Emes. People think it's about not lying, about being honest in business. No, in Chazal we see it's something greater and deeper than that. Chazal say that Kol Hamish, someone who's not Emed B'diburai, he doesn't stand into his word, live up to his word, Harei Zek Oived Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Yoina writes in Shari Tshuva, in Shar Gimel, Ois Kuf Pei Gimel, that the Midah of Emes is Meyesoide HaNefesh, from the foundations, from the essence of the human being. The Pshat is, Emes is not about truth. Emes is about trust. Are you a trustworthy person? Relationships are based on trust. Whether it's marriage, whether it's working together with somebody else in business, or a pact or a treaty between nations, it's about trust. And that's a common in marriage. We say in the bracha that you should be zoicha to be boina abayis neman b'Yisrael, a trustworthy home. It's based, a marriage is based on trust, that I could trust you, you'll care for me, you'll be there for me, and I trust you, you won't cheat on me. Above all, relationships, our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is also about a bris, a bond, because any bond which is created between two beings, it's about trust. Are you trustworthy? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a bris with Avraham Avinu, what does it say? Umatzoslas levavoi neman lefanecha. Then v'charisim abris. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Avraham was trustworthy, then he was able to make the bond, whether it's a bond of marriage, whether it's a bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or it's a bond with any two people. It's about trust. Who are you? Are you a trustworthy person or not? Emes is not about lying. Emes is not about honest in business or keeping your word. These are the symptoms of who and what your essence is. Are you trustworthy? If you could lie or cheat in business, if you could lie or cheat in taxes, or you do not keep your word for whatever the reason is, you are not trustworthy. And if so, you can be even avodah zarah, because we cannot trust you. You'll deviate from the truth and do avodah zarah also if it's worthwhile for you. Emes is about who and what are you? Are you trustworthy? And that is the foundation and the aside of Nefesh Adam.
If somebody loses an Aveda, they have an item that gets lost, and it is found, in order to reclaim it, they must bring a siman. They must say something about the item that they recognize in order to get their item returned to them. However, if the person's an ish emes, one who never lies, then the person's allowed to just say, show me the item, and if they recognize it as theirs, we return it to them, what's called tviyas ayin. I recognize it, it's an item, I just know it's mine, return it to me, and the person can be returned b'tviyas ayin. And the question is, a person who lies, why don't you return it if they say it's theirs? And one would think the answer is that maybe they're lying. But let's say they pass a lie detector test, and they're clearly not lying, assuming lie detector tests really prove it, and we know they're not lying, you cannot return it to a liar. And Rashi and Gittin teaches us that the real reason is that since they lie, they have no tviyas ayin. Not they are lying when they say it's theirs, they don't know if it's theirs. Since they're dishonest, they don't know if it's theirs. The Yesod Rashi and Gittin is teaching us is that a liar doesn't fool others. A liar loses a sense of truth. Chazal say the oynesh of a badai is even his truths are not believed. I always thought that pshat was like the boy who cried wolf. Even when he speaks the truth, others won't believe him because they're used to him lying. But according to this, there's a deeper pshat. Even when in reality he means to tell the truth, he passes a lie detector test. We know 100% he means to tell the truth. One should not believe him. The liars lose a sense of the truth. They don't know themselves the truth. All of us are gifted by Hashem with a knack to sense the truth. Nikom divrei emes. One of the most important attributes we have in our life, a sense of what is true and what's not true. The capacity to call out what's right and what's wrong. When one lies, they lose that sense of truth. They can do immense damage that they themselves will be less aware of what's true and what's not true. So all of us should be zeichet to protect our midas ha'emes, our capacity for recognizing the truth by being distanced, by midvar sheker tirchak, being distanced from lies, to retain our immense power to know what's true and what's not true.
Thank you, Yeshua Roth and the whole Sparks and Seconds team for affording us the opportunity to grow week by week, topic by topic. This week's topic of Emes, I'm sure that everyone's talking about different madregas. You'll forgive me if I give an angle of Surmei Rav, what to stay away from. I think like this: if you look in the Torah, we're told about two different types of dishonest people. There's someone we know as Esav or Edom, and there's someone called Lavan. Edom is red. Edom is someone who professes to be something that he's not. Chazal tell us, Rashi says that he's nimshal l'chazir. The chazir shows off, gives an impression that he's kosher when he's not. Esav was kitzayid befiv, and he's known as Edom. Red, I think, represents somebody who gives off an impression, but with the full knowledge that they're not. And that's one type, one degree of dishonesty that we need to keep away from. You say something that, when you say, I lost the receipt when you didn't, that's a lie. That's something, that's a dishonesty, knock it off. That's something that's a little easier to stay away from. I think there's a more profound type of dishonesty. Lavan is someone who's known as white. He's white, he's a clean fellow. To Lavan is a man who professes to be honest. And I think there's a deeper, more pernicious, and this requires a lot more introspection to detect. It could go undetected for a very long time when a person doesn't even realize that he's dishonest. And the lying that he does is so much more dangerous, where one lies even to himself. When you watch a Lavan speak, it's just not something we do. I didn't say that I wouldn't give you Leah. I said I'd give you Rachel, and I'm giving you Rachel. There's a certain degree, a certain type of dishonesty that's much more internal, that goes so much more undetected. And that type of dishonesty requires much more introspection. There's two things that we want to keep guard from. So number one, we don't want to say things that aren't true. Midvar sheker tirch is mitzvah d'oraisa. To stay away from saying things that aren't true, that we know that aren't true. And then there's the type of lies that we lie to ourselves, and this could be much more prevalent and much more dangerous. Where there's so many rationalizations and biases that a person can convince himself, where he says things even to himself that aren't true. So, those ideas to stay away from: number one, not to say things that we know not to be true, but to introspect even further and try to clean ourselves from things that we delude even ourselves from saying, and live a life to try to continue to live a life of honesty and emes, and that would be a tremendous chus for all of us.